everyone, it's Kim, and welcome back to Bookmarks and Breadsticks. Welcome back to Bookmarks and Breadsticks. I am here with another Unwrap My TBR video. If you guys haven't already checked out this series, or you're new to this series, I, in the years of 2019 and 2020, bought way too many books and ended up actually wrapping about 100 books. And what I'm trying to do, I continue to buy new books all the time, but it's really important to me to start working through that backlog and start with some of the oldest books that I've had the longest. So every month I unwrap one of these books and vlog with you about it. Last month I did Serve the People. I've read there's been some months where it's a complete dud. At one point I think I DNF'd 3 books in the whole episode just to get through one book off my shelf, but hey, every book that I don't like does get donated to my little free library, and I continue to get books off my physical TBR. So let's open up the July book. Dan actually picked this, and I have an idea of what this is. Yes, I could tell when I was opening this. This is A Book of Difficult Fruit, and this is by Kate Lebo. So this is a newer book. I believe this is is this 2021 or 2022? This is 2021, so this definitely is a newer book. You can read it as an audiobook just because Scribd has put it as a recommendation for me. So how long is this book? In total, this book is 356 pages along with some recommended reading and such in the back. Let me read the inside cover for you. A as in Aronia, berry member of the apple family. Closed stainer, superfruit with a reputed healing power. D is for durian, endowed with a dramatic rind and a shifting odor. Peaches, old garlic. M is for medlar, name checked by Shakespeare for its crude shape, beloved by gardeners for its flowers. Q is for quince, which, when fresh, gives off the scent of roses and citrus and rich women's perfume. But if eaten raw, it's so astringent that But if eaten raw is so astringent, it wicks the juice from one's mouth. In a work of unique invention, these and other difficult fruits serve as the central ingredients of 26 lyrical essays with recipes. What makes a fruit difficult? Its cultivation, its harvest, its preparation, the brevity of its moment for ripeness, its tendency towards rot or poison, and the way it might overrun your garden. Here, these fruits will take you on unexpected turns and give sideways insight into relationships, self-care, land stewardship, medicinal and botanical history, and much more. What if the primary way to show love is through baking, but your partner suffers from celiac disease? Why leave in the pits of Willa Cather's plum jam? How do we rely on bodies as fragile as the fruits that nourish them? Kate Lebo's unquenchable curiosity promises adventure. Intimate, sensuous, ranging, bitter, challenging, rottening, ripe. After reading The Book of Difficult Fruit, you will never think of sweetness the same way again. This is the second fruit-related book I've had on my Unwrap TBR, which is pretty cool. Kate Lebo is the author of the cookbook Pie School and the poetry chapbook, I don't know what a poetry chapbook really means, of 7 Prayers to Kathy McMorris Rogers, and the co-editor with Sam Ligon of Pie and Whiskey, Writers Under the Influence of Butter and Booze. Oh, that sounds funny. Her essay about listening through hearing loss, The Loud-Proof Room, originally appeared in the New England Review and was anthologized in the Best American Essays 2015. She lives in Spokane, Washington, where she is an apprentice cheesemaker to Laura Lee Mr. Lee of Quillisot Farm. Well, that's pretty cool. She's a published writer and she's an apprentice cheesemaker. Like, sign me up for this life, right? Anyway, I am super excited to read this. Let's see how many chapters we have. Oh, this would make sense. There's probably 26 of them. One for each letter of the alphabet. So we have A for Aronia, B for blackberry, C for cherry, D for durian, elderberry for E, F for face clock. I thought that said Facebook. G, gooseberries, H, huckleberry, I, Italian plum, J, juniper berry, K, kiwi fruit, L, lump, M for medlar, N for the Norton grape, O for Osage orange, P for pomegranate, Q for quince, H for rhubarb, S for sugarcane, T for timbleberry, U for ume plum, V for vanilla, W for wheat, and X for xylitol, Y for yuzu, and Z for zucchini. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll see, I'm not sure how frequently I'm gonna check in. I don't want to check in after every chapter, but there are 26 of them and 26 fruits. So maybe I'll check in when the most interesting things pop up, but I'll see you in a little bit. Hey everyone, so it is Saturday morning. It's like 9:45 and I am back. It's been probably a full week since I started reading the Book of Difficult Fruit, and honestly this book should be called the Book of Difficult Reading. I started this as an audiobook, and I made it all the way through the letter K, and I just am finding this very hard to read right now, and I honestly think I'm going to stop reading it for right now. So this would probably be a soft DNF. I do think I want to finish it, maybe. I'm a little bummed because I pre-ordered this book when it came out. It's a brand new hardcover book, you know, a $28 book. And I'm just not enjoying it. So in general, I don't think it's a difference between the audiobook versus reading it, because obviously I can pick up the book and continue to read it. And I'm getting the audiobook through Scribed, so like it's a monthly membership, but it's not like I bought the Audible file and then bought the book on top of it, which I don't use Audible anymore for that reason. There are some stories in the book that I quite like. Like I liked the letter D is for durian, and it, you know, I actually learned from the author that durian and jackfruit are actually not the same thing. I thought jackfruit was the Americanized version of the word durian. So oftentimes there are really there are global foods, fruits, vegetables, fish that often have ugly names that are then given new names for marketing purposes. Like a Chilean sea bass is not a Chilean sea bass. It's called like, not a snaggletooth fish, but like a toothfish or something. So toothfish doesn't sound that sexy. So people started to call it a Chilean sea bass to make it sexy. So I thought the jackfruit was the American word, or like the marketed, romanticized version of a durian. And I actually found out that they're two totally different fruits. So like that chapter I really liked, but for some reason I was listening to the book and I was like, okay, only 4 more hours left to finish this book. Only 5 more hours to finish this book. And like, that's not the kind of attitude I want to have when I'm reading a book. I want to be enjoying it. I want to be turning the pages and excited. And instead I was counting down to the end of this book. I think what is hard for me in this book is that while each chapter is written by the same author, the stories don't really have any connective thread. They're all stories from her life, but the word difficult is like the best way to describe it. I don't find any of the writing exactly warm or enticing, and not factual enough to be historical or factual and interesting. There's a couple chapters about, I think it was the chapter for B for blackberry or for blueberry. And like that one was interesting, talking about how there's certain blueberries that people don't want to breed because it's what makes them special. But then there are other chapters that get very like into, if I eat a lot of this specific berry, it's good for me. It's an alternative homeopathic answer to like cancer treatments. And like her argument in that chapter is the idea of superfruits, and they're not really superfruits because they're not really studied, but I'd rather believe in this than that. And I guess the author herself suffers from a lot of ailments, and it's something she's battled with her whole life. And I'm not trying to discredit the idea that fruits and vegetables are the better way for you to get your natural vitamins and minerals than getting something processed like a capsule. But like, it got really preachy, and like that's not what I'm looking for in a book about fruits, I guess, which is different because like she's talking about like people have talked about like goji berries are great, or like getting antioxidants from fruit. So like I got the argument and I got why it fit in the book, but I'm just not excited, and it stinks because like there's nothing wrong with DNF'ing books though, and I really think that I'm at the end of the month and it was putting me into a really bad reading slump. Like I read 7 books this month. I was having a great reading month. I was having a great time. And this book felt like I was just very slowly wading through the book. If that makes sense. Like it was a churn. It was a grind. I'm just not having fun. So I am going to temporarily DNF the Book of Difficult Fruit. I'm on the letter K. So maybe I just have to read it one fruit at a time. So if you thought this was the end of the Unwrap My TBR vlog for July, you are incorrect, because I did decide I have plenty of other books. Let me try and open up another one. I unwrapped Toast by Nigel Slater, a story of a boy's hunger. So this Nigel Slater is well known in the UK for being a food writer, a food connoisseur. He had a column for many years, and this is his book. I'm on page 47 so far. It's only 250 pages, a little less than, so I'm going to try and get it out this weekend. I'm 47 pages in, and what I really like about it is that they're little short stories, little snippets of memory. They're all food memories, just one after another, after another, after another, and this is what I wanted. Very digestible stories that feel universal but are different all at the same time. Let me read the inside cover for you. So sorry, it's like flapping around, but a deliciously evocative story of a childhood in 1960s suburban England from one of the UK's best-loved writers, Nigel Slater. Toast is the true extraordinary story of a childhood remembered through food. In each chapter, as Nigel Slater takes us on a tour of the contents of his family's pantry, rice pudding, tinned ham, cream soda, mince pies, lemon drops, bourbon biscuits, we are transported. His mother is a chops and peas sort of cook, exasperated by the highs and lows of a temperamental stove, a finicky little son, and the asthma that would prove fatal. Spoiler, I haven't gotten there yet. She's still alive. His father is a honey and crumpets man with an unpredictable temper. When he is widowed, Nigel's father takes on a housekeeper with social aspirations and a talent in the kitchen, and the following years become a heartbreaking cooking contest for his father's affections. As he slowly loses the contest, Nigel finds a new outlet for his culinary gifts, and we witness the birth of a lifelong passion of food. Nigel's likes and dislikes, aversions, and sweet tooth weakness form a fascinating backdrop to this exceptionally moving memoir of childhood, adolescence, and sexual awakening. So like I said, I'm only 47 pages in, so his biological mother is still alive. He's already alluded to in writing his stepmother will appear, so like I know that this woman will die from her asthma-related complications. But right now we're in his early childhood. I don't even think he's hit the age of 10, or at least in the memories he's writing so far. So I really like it so far. I'm already a quarter of the way through it, so I'm going to try and finish it this weekend and come back to it. And I am physically reading the book. It's 9 in the morning. I've been up probably since like 8. I woke up at 7 and then like futzed around until 8. So I am going to continue reading. I have a new water bottle with the times to keep drinking, so I've already had my morning coffee, so I'm hoping to get back into being better hydrated. I don't know, it's just been a really weird couple weeks where I've just felt like very sluggish, so one of the first things you can do is drink water. So I'm gonna go back to reading a book and drinking water, and I will see you in a little bit. Bye. Hey, so it's me. I am back. It is now Wednesday. I am leaving on vacation tomorrow, so I am trying very, very hard to finish this toast. Sorry for that very flattering. I really have a really boring background behind me, so I apologize for that. But I am, what page am I on? I'm on page 139, so I have officially less than 100 pages left of Toast. So now that we are in the thick of the book, we are now picking up on a little bit more of, I'd say, a narrative thread between these little pocket short stories. And what I like about these food memories is that some are only 2 paragraphs long, and some are like 2 to 3 pages long. At this point, Nigel's mother has died. He's 9, turning 10 when she passes away, and it's interesting to watch the food memories change because these things he took for granted, or the meals that she'd make, he watches her ability to provide in that way, in that capacity of cooking, slowly decline until she passes away just before Christmas, which is a really sad timing for the poor guy. And then he's essentially sent not away to school, but he and his father are now grieving, and they begin, like, there's no food around. And some of the stories are just absolutely heartbreaking. There's one where he wants to do something nice for his dad, and he doesn't know what to do, so he saves a lot of money, and for a kid, a lot of money, and then he goes to the store and buys smoked fish, something his dad really likes. And the man at the shop explains to him, like, all you got to do is put it in the oven for 5 minutes and it'll be ready. So he takes it home and he's ready to do this for his dad, and he's got it in the oven and he's waiting, and his dad's 5 minutes late. So he starts buttering some bread and just trying to prepare. And his father is later and later getting home from work, and Nigel, being 9 or 10, doesn't think to take the smoked fish out of the oven. So by the time dad gets home, let's say a half hour later, this dish is like destroyed, but he still serves it to his dad, and he's like really sad and upset and like storms away. And when he comes back later, he finds his dad has eaten everything, because his dad said he'd eat it, but he comes back to see his dad had eaten everything and was crying at the kitchen table. So it's message received, the intent of doing something nice for his dad, message was received, and this poor little boy like just wants to do something for his dad. So it was a really touching scene, but it was really, really sad. And I think we can relate to those childhood moments of wanting to do something for an adult and having no idea how. So I found that super touching. There are some that are not as interesting as others. I think that's fine. These memories are from when he's 9 or 10. So like his oddly inability to eat eggs for a long time, like, would make him puke, makes me think, oh, maybe he had a food allergy. But Nigel really proves throughout these stories to be a super picky eater, which already is very difficult. But then for a dad who's now a single parent, it can be really hard. And now Mrs. Potter, the cleaner, is around more, serving him lunches. I don't know what school system, and maybe it's a European thing, where you get to come home for lunch and then go back to school. It was never the thing in U.S. public schools. I would bring a lunch and I would eat it in the cafeteria, or I would buy a lunch, but we were never, ever allowed to go home during lunch. Especially at 9 or 10 is insane. You're like maybe lucky enough as a high school senior to be allowed to go home. So this was a very... I don't know if that's a European thing or just something outside of the US. Let me know in the comments below, but I was never allowed to go home for lunch. So that was kind of cool to learn about. But now the cleaner, Mrs. Potter, it looks like where I've left off, Nigel and his family have now bought a house and are potentially living with their aunt, who was Nigel's mom's sister. And I can't tell if, I think his dad now has a new girlfriend. It's been a little bit of time. He has a new girlfriend, and I believe it is Mrs. Potter, the cleaner, because Nigel's confused and doesn't quite understand, and I, as the reader, am slightly confused and do not understand. But I think Mrs. Potter is now going to become stepmom, and Mrs. Potter cleans. She also does cook, but maybe it's not Mrs. Potter, because he mentions that sometimes this cleaning lady, Mrs. Potter, sometimes her sister comes too to help, and they are gossiping about Mrs. Potter's husband. So that makes me think that's not who the new wife is going to be. But they have moved, and Nigel notices as a kid that his dad will come home and then rush out, but like with clean clothes on, or like Old Spice, which makes me think dad is dating, etc. So I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I haven't seen the word stepmother yet, so I think that's about to happen soon, and we'll see how Nigel's relationship with food continues to change. Overall, it's a very moving book. Like, these are very visceral. I can really imagine being in the kitchen, being 9 years old with this little boy, experiencing foods. But sometimes he's also such a picky eater and a little bit thoughtless. But I think we were all kind of thoughtless when we were kids, like say and do things that you look back at and you go, ooh, probably shouldn't have done that. But all in all, I do like it so far. I'm hoping to bang this out before I leave on my vacation tomorrow. So let's get back to reading. So I am back, and I have finished Toast by Nigel Slater. So this book was a British Book Awards biography of the year. Can I understand why this book won an award? Yes, I find the childhood memories very poignant, very
relatable. Like there's kind of this painful, visceral reaction. And in the edition I have, there's a new foreword where Nigel Slater talks about the fact that throughout most of his career as a reviewer, he was rather anonymous. And then here he was writing about his childhood, and it felt a little hypocritical or contradictory to the life of privacy he had led. But then also wondered if any of what he would say would be relatable to the general public because he has such a different life. And he mentions in that preface, the opening, excuse me, that he did receive a lot of letters from people who said, I felt like I was there with you. I felt like I was at the table with you eating your mom's cake, the smell of lamb stew. And that is why I think this book is a powerful read, because I felt like I was there with him in those food memories. The last third of this book that I just finished is about life after the death of his mother and his father remarrying, and then his father's untimely death as well. He dies in his mid-50s from a heart attack. So by the end of this book, Nigel Slater has no biological parents left, and his stepmother takes the inheritance and just like moves closer to her own family. And he, by this point, is a teenager. I think around 15, 16 is when his father passes. So he tries to finish school, and you start to see at the very end of the book, you start to see Nigel Slater in kitchens, starting to work his way up and find a place that will provide him room and board. So I would love to know what Nigel Slater's life is in his 20s and after, because we don't see anything where he becomes the food critic and food writer he's known for today. This is truly a biography about his childhood. So all in all, it's a good book. I don't think it's just not the most groundbreaking or my favorite, but I can definitely see the prose, and it's so beautifully written. I can see why it is worthy of the award. So would I recommend you pick it up? Yes, but only if you really have an affiliation, I think, to Nigel Slater, and if you are okay with childhood memories and the death of two parents within one biography, which as someone who has lost a parent, was kind of a lot to deal with, even if he touches on it from the point of view of a 9-year-old and then 15-year-old child. So just be warned when you go in. I do think it's a wonderful book. I do think it won't be staying on my shelves. I'm still on the fence about whether or not it's going to stay on the shelves. I don't think it moved me enough to stay when I have so many other books to read and so many other books to unwrap. So I'll hang on to it for a little while, and then most likely you'll see it on my Pango bookshop in the next couple of months, which you guys haven't heard. Most recently, I've been dividing books into unhauls for the Little Free Library, and a lot of the nonfiction that I want to unhaul doesn't get a lot of traffic in my Little Free Libraries, so I've started to list them on Pango. All my books are $10 or under, not a plug, just an FYI. And usually it's because I'm buying these books used already, so used book for the same price I got it at, which is usually less than 10 bucks. If you liked this Unwrap My TBR, I have an entire playlist where each month I'm unwrapping a new book and trying to read and help get through the books I purchased in 2019 and 2020, and I will link that into the playlist above and down below. And let me know in the comments below, did you know who Nigel Slater was before I unwrapped this book? Sorry that I didn't, but glad I read about him. Don't forget, in the description box, you'll also see other areas where I'm about on social media, including Instagram, and you'll get updates on the Read It and Eat subscription boxes. It's August now, and we're about to start shipping the cheese box here in the US, so check it out. Holidays are going to be here before you know it. Maybe it's a good time to get them a Read It and Eat box. If you're looking for a gift under $30, try a blind date with a book, where I curate food books across multiple genres, including kitchen romances, cozy culinary mysteries, middle grade, young adult, fiction, and as I mentioned, foodie rom-coms. Each box comes curated with a book, a snack, and a $3 donation to fight hunger here in Buffalo, New York, and that is a great gift for $30 and under for a blind date with a book. I'll link all of that down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!